The game never stops, and neither do we. Welcome to the SDH Network. We're always around the corner from everywhere, and today's Morning Espresso is brought to you by Oglethorpe University, Atlanta's premier undergraduate learning experience and soccer powerhouse. I'm Jason Longshore, and today we're talking movement on the sidelines, in the brackets, across the continents. Chelsea have turned the page again. AFCON, they are tightening to their sharpest edge yet, and January continues to reshape the landscape in MLS, in the NWSL, in Europe, and beyond. Let's get into it. Pour yourself a cup of espresso, and let's go to London. Chelsea have officially made their move. It's not a surprise. Liam Rosenior is the new head coach at Stamford Bridge. I should say manager or head coach, or maybe they're going to fight about it. He's in charge of the team at Stamford Bridge. How about that? He signed a 5.5-year deal that signals, once again, how committed this ownership group is to the idea of a long-term vision. We'll see if the road to get to that long-term vision is actually a smooth one this time. If he lasts the entire 5.5 years, I will be very surprised. Rosenior arrives from Strasbourg, another Blue Coat club, where he guided the French side to a 7th-placed finish in Ligue 1 last year and into European qualification. For a coach in his early 40s, that's another big step up the ladder. He's been at Derby, he's been at Hull, then Strasbourg, and now Chelsea. He is highly rated inside modern football circles. The timing matters here as well. He leaves Strasbourg after 5 league matches without a win, though still sitting top of their Conference League group, and he walks into a Chelsea team that just needed a stoppage time equalizer from Enzo Fernandez to draw at Manchester City. Enzo Maresca's exit on January 1st, it wasn't just about results. He did only have 1 win in his last 7. But it was about a project that was fraying behind the scenes. Public comments, they hinted at internal issues. There was talk about Maresca being in the frame at Manchester City. If Pep Guardiola leaves, he had been in the frame in other places as well. And when you start to get to this stage of life at Chelsea, history tells us that the clock starts ticking really fast. Now, Maresca did issue a statement this morning, and he said, "Leave this world a little better than you found it," talking about Chelsea, and he feels like he left Chelsea in a better place than when he arrived. I would agree. Won the Club World Cup, won the Conference League, has them in a solid spot in the Premier League. Could it have been better? Sure. Was it very good? I would say yes, and I don't think it was purely the results that ended up seeing him leave. Now we'll see if Liam Rosenior can manage the on and off field side of being in charge at Chelsea, which is a challenge for a lot of different people. Academy coach Callum McFarlane, he will take charge for the Fulham match this week, but the message from ownership at Chelsea is pretty unmistakable. The future now belongs to Liam Rosenior and the staff that he's bringing with him. And make no mistake, this is not just a new head coach. He is bringing members of his backroom team, including Kefa Cisse and Justin Walker. They're making the move to London. This is I want to see if it's a real philosophical shift in the way that the team plays. There are going to be some elements of things that I don't think are going to be dramatically different than what we saw with Enzo Maresca, but I think Rosenior is going to have players who will enjoy their football with him. From his interview with The Athletic, he said, "I always wanted to be in a team that dominated play. I worked hard to play at Anfield, at Old Trafford, at Stamford Bridge, and then I would turn up, not touch the ball for 90 minutes, and I would have a feeling of maybe I could have done more, but I wasn't able to because of the tactical restrictions that were placed upon us. Now, for me, when I coach a team, I want them to enjoy what they do. I want them to feel like they are children because that's where your enthusiasm for football comes from." I love that quote. I love that mentality. That's the kind of football that I believe in. It's the kind of football that I think motivates players. So let's see where this goes. Now, in his first comments at Chelsea, he talked about humility, he talked about unity, he talked about emotional intelligence. These aren't just throwaway words. These are themes that have followed him throughout his career, and they're going to become the foundation of what he wants Chelsea to be under his leadership. He admitted that he had some interest from Champions League clubs, and he also admitted that some jobs like Chelsea are just simply impossible to turn down. Now you go across the country to Manchester and Manchester United. They are still searching for clarity after making the decision to move on from Ruben Amorim. Darren Fletcher will oversee the next 2 matches at least. There's talk of a caretaker coming in. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's name keeps surfacing, while the long list for the summer in terms of a long-term hire grows longer by the day. Oliver Glasner at Crystal Palace appears to be the early favorite, his Palace contract winding down. United eager to avoid another compensation battle here. But the usual cast of characters is being mentioned as well. Xavi, who hasn't worked since he left Barcelona. Julian Nagelsmann. Gareth Southgate, who is available at the moment. Thomas Tuchel, if he doesn't continue with England. Nagelsmann, if he doesn't continue with Germany. Roberto De Zerbi at Marseille. Marco Silva's name has come up. Eddie Howe, he's already shut the door. He said he is fully committed to Newcastle. Strasbourg, they are moving quickly to replace Rosenior, with Gary O'Neill close to agreeing to a deal. It's just another reminder that in the game today, one decision ripples through half a dozen clubs at least before the ink is even dry. Chelsea have got their next leader. Manchester United are searching for their next leader. In January, as usual, belongs to the managers. Let's go to Africa and the African Cup of Nations. Morocco is hosting the tournament. They are into the quarterfinals where they will host Cameroon later this week. That's going to be a must-see match on Friday afternoon. But today it marks the final day of the round of 16. The quarterfinal picture almost complete. In Marrakech, Côte d'Ivoire, they host Burkina Faso in a West African derby that carries real weight. The defending champions, Ivory Coast, return to the same venue they used in the group stage. They'll be leaning on that familiarity. Burkina Faso, they come in with belief. They're openly stating that facing Côte d'Ivoire is just part of their ambition to go deep into this competition. It'd be a huge upset for Burkina Faso to get the job done here, but both coaches, they're trying to block out the noise, and they're trying to get into just executing their game plans. Côte d'Ivoire is the better team. We'll see if they can take care of business today. In Rabat, Algeria will meet DR Congo in one of the most evenly matched ties of the round of 16. Algeria have been one of the better teams in the tournament so far, perfect in the group stage. They only conceded once. Riyad Mahrez is leading a balanced and confident squad. DR Congo, though, they bring their own credentials. 7 points from 3 games. They are going into the Interconfederational playoff and World Cup qualifying in March. They are very disciplined defensively. And their coaching staff looks at this moment as not a burden, but a step forward. Yesterday, Nigeria, 4-0 win, comprehensive over Mozambique. However, there are some questions about a rift potentially between Victor Osimhen and Ademola Lookman. We'll keep an eye on that one. But on the field, this is the best team in the tournament right now. This is a very strong team. Egypt, they had to work to get past Benin. It went to extra time, but 2 goals in extra time for Egypt. Mo Salah's was the last kick of the game. It makes the scoreline look a little bit better at 3-1, but Egypt really had to suffer in this one to get through. They will face the winner of Côte d'Ivoire and Burkina Faso. Nigeria will meet either Algeria or DR Congo. AFCON now into the decisive phase. It's going to be a blast to watch this tournament continue on as we get to the quarterfinals later this week. Let's bring it back home. Domestic focus. We'll start on a player that we have gotten to know over the last year here in Atlanta, Gabriel Wisse. According to reports, Tom Bogert with The Athletic says that he will be headed to Norway and Fredrikstad. They are set to sign him when he turns 18 in May. 4 goals, 7 assists in MLS Next Pro last season. Atlanta United definitely wanted to keep him. He trained with the first team quite a bit in the second half of 2025. I know Ronnie Dylo was extremely high on him, as was Jose Silva with Atlanta United too. I am almost certain that offers were made to him to stay, and I don't know what those were. I don't know what the terms were, if they were homegrown contracts, if there were disputes over what the salary would be, if it was a twos deal that turned into a homegrown deal. I don't know what offer was put in front of him, but to say that Atlanta United did not try to sign him is factually incorrect. I don't know what Fredrikstad is offering that Atlanta United would not be, outside of the fact it's in Europe. That's really about it. This is a mid-table Norwegian club. It feels like a little bit of an odd move, but yeah, I do have to remember that Wise did come to Atlanta from the Philadelphia Union Academy, and perhaps his agents saw the next step for him future-wise was to go to Europe rather than sign a deal domestically. I think it's a mistake, but we'll see how this plays out in the long term for Gabriel Wise, a very, very talented player who has an opportunity to succeed no matter where he goes. I just hope this is the right pathway for his development. In women's soccer, Boston Legacy, they have made a statement signing with Mexican international Nicky Hernandez, 2-year deal through 2027. The former Club America standout has reinvented herself as a left back in pursuit of national team opportunities. Arrives with experience across club and international football. Really smart signing for Boston Legacy as they head into their first NWSL season in 2026. In MLS, DC United, they are spending. They have completed a club record move for Romanian striker Luis Montanu from CFR Cluj, reportedly up to $10 million here. The 23-year-old becomes a designated player, joins Tai Baribo as part of a rebuilt attack following Christian Benteke's departure. I want to see if those two go up top and in how everything gets shaped around that. In Austin, Owen Wolf's breakout season has been rewarded. He signed a long-term extension under the U22 initiative after 7 goals and 8 assists helped lead Austin back into the playoffs. The U22 initiative gets used in a variety of ways. I love seeing it used in this way, to reward a homegrown who breaks out past that level of salary, and you keep them under a longer-term deal, paying them more, but it's still cap friendly. I've proposed in the past, almost like the old Larry Bird rule in the NBA, where you could re-sign your own guys and go over the cap. I would absolutely create a structure, even outside of the U22 initiative, to incentivize signing your homegrown players who outperform their homegrown contracts to more salary while not increasing their cap burden, making it an incentive to develop players. I would love to see that in MLS. Let's go to New Jersey. Familiar name in charge, Michael Bradley. He was introduced to the media yesterday as the new head coach of the New York Red Bulls. He was a teenage debutant with the Metro Stars back in the day, and he's been a U.S. captain and now a head coach. It's a full circle moment for one of the most influential American players of his generation. And look, I know people have opinions about Michael Bradley, and I will continue to argue that he is one of the most important players to ever wear the U.S. men's national team kit. He's one of the best players that the U.S. has ever produced. And he consistently did his job wherever he was. I think he's going to be an excellent manager, and I think the Red Bulls did the right thing in hiring him. Across the Atlantic, Borussia Dortmund, they continue shaping the futures of 2 young Americans. 16-year-old Mathis Albert has been promoted to the U23s, while winger Cole Campbell heads to Hoffenheim on loan in search of some regular Bundesliga minutes. Hamburg, they are close to bringing U.S. men's national team striker Damian Downs back to Germany on a loan from Southampton with an option to buy. Could reset his momentum a little bit after a frustrating first half of the year in England. Today on the SDH Network, Casey White, she is live on SDH AM right now. You'll be able to catch that on demand if you miss it this morning. She'll check in on the latest around NWSL and MLS. Also joining the show is Rob Edwards from Morley Sports Management to talk about his company's acquisition of Hamilton Academical in Scotland. Also, his unique ties to the U.S. pro wrestling industry. John's going to be excited about that one. So that will be on SDH AM this morning. You can watch on YouTube, on Twitch, on X, and you can always catch it on demand in those places, but also as a podcast, wherever you get your SDH podcast, or you can just go to soccerdownhere.net. If you missed it, last night's Soccer Over There is available on demand. I got the soapbox out to talk about clubs needing identity and having a backbone to withstand pressure when results don't always match the long-term goals and when the idea of shaping that identity gets a little rocky. You've had a lot of that here lately, and it was an interesting conversation with listeners and with John about kind of where I feel about shaping identity and what these clubs should do and how they should handle it. Go check that out. Tonight, I'll be hosting Atlanta Soccer Tonight on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. That's after college basketball, so it'll start around 10:30 p.m. or so. We'll get caught up on all the MLS offseason moves with training camps opening next week. The refill, let's run through the headlines as we grab another cup of espresso. Real Madrid, they will be without Kylian Mbappe for the Spanish Supercopa in Saudi Arabia. The French forward is staying in Spain to continue recovering from a knee injury. Mbappe's been responsible for more than half of Madrid's goals this season. While Gonzalo Garcia's hat trick against Betis offers some encouragement, now there's maybe a little more pressure on Xabi Alonso as the Supercopa takes on some added significance. Celtic, they have turned back to Martin O'Neill after dismissing Wilfried Nancy just 33 days into his tenure, the shortest managerial spell in club history. And yes, that's what provoked a lot of the outburst last night on Soccer Over There. O'Neill won 7 trophies during his first stint. He had some better results than Nancy did when he took over after Brendan Rodgers left in the middle of the season and started this whole mess for Celtic. Celtic's a mess all the way across the board. I have some big issues with how Martin O'Neill handled the transition from himself to Nancy. I don't feel like he went out of his way to really set the new person up for success. I don't think the club set Wilfried Nancy up for success. I think it's an embarrassment the way all of this played out on the club's side of things. I think Wilfried Nancy is going to learn from it and be a better manager in the long run. He shouldn't have taken the job, frankly. If the club was not going to back him and let him create the style of play that takes a little bit of time, and they knew this coming in, if they didn't know it, they didn't do their homework. If they knew it and then they went back on giving him the time to develop it, then they lied. There's really not a way here that Celtic looks good in this situation. I know people will spin it the other way and blame everything on Nancy and all of that and take very dismissive tones about Major League Soccer. I mean, I've seen pundits talk about how, well, you don't face pressure like you do at Celtic. You have more competitive games, first off, because MLS is more competitive than the Scottish Premiership for sure. So he's absolutely felt pressure. To act like there's no pressure in MLS is ridiculous. And to act like the pressure that you face at Celtic is a good thing is also ridiculous. It's overbearing. It is outdated, frankly, because the club is not what it used to be. And it's kind of sad that people think that's the pinnacle of what you want. Managers not being able to develop a coherent style of play, managers being forced to fall into results or die ideas, and then the soccer never progresses. The way of playing never progresses. Nothing gets better. It just keeps going backwards, like the Scottish Premiership has too often over the last few years. I'm glad it is a passionately followed league. I'm glad that folks in Scotland support their league in such a way. That's awesome. But passion doesn't always equal correctness. The league is not where it used to be. And some of that passion is why the level of play isn't very good like it used to be. The top clubs aren't as good as they used to be. And the rest of the clubs aren't really any better than they used to be. That all has to change. And it's a time to look in the mirror and say, you know what? We shouldn't embrace running a manager off from a club in 33 days when they didn't have time to instill their style of play. And frankly, they didn't have players who were capable of the style of play, which wasn't asking anything more difficult than being able to control the ball and being able to adapt to some new tactical ideas. These are things that clubs of the ilk of Celtic should have the players to be able to do. And they weren't. And they also weren't mentally strong to handle the pressure. It's got to get better. And I want fans here who support MLS, and whether you're an Atlanta United fan or you're a fan from somewhere else in the league, you're all welcome here in the SDH network, absolutely. But I want you guys to understand that it's not always the pinnacle to go to Europe. Whether it's a young player, whether it's a manager. Not every situation, even if it is a club with history, even if it is in Europe, even if it is seen by some as a bigger move, even if they will tell you it's a bigger move on the other side of the Atlantic, that doesn't mean that it is, and it doesn't mean that it's right. The culture around the game here is great. Embrace that. Be thankful for that, and hopefully it can continue to improve at a faster rate than it is in some countries that, I don't know, at times I feel like maybe there is a wistfulness in the way that you look at what's going on in Scotland, what's going on in England, what's going on in France and Italy and Germany and Spain. And there's this idea that it's on a pedestal above, and not all of it is. We've got it pretty good here. And Wilfried Nancy's going to be fine. But as good of a manager as he is, to go there and find players who really don't have the first touch to be able to play possession soccer, it's sad. And then to have the arrogance thrown at him from pundits and from fans, it's sad. Celtic have made a huge error in the way they've handled this all the way around. They have set themselves back. Martin O'Neill will stabilize it. They'll be defensive. They'll be boring. It won't be fun to watch. They'll get some better results. They won't be any better at the end of his era than they were at the end of Brendan Rodgers' era. They will go backwards. And we'll see then what happens next. Don't expect a whole lot from them. Don't expect anything from them in Europe going forward. And this is an embarrassment. And in my opinion, top managers should not look to go there because they won't have time to actually do their jobs. Okay, soapbox put back away into the soccer over there category. West Brom, Ryan Mason, he's been dismissed after just 7 months. The club is 18th in the championship. James Morrison steps in on an interim basis there. Callum Wilson is looking to leave West Ham. Remember, he was linked with Charlotte at one point. I wonder if he might be making a move to MLS. It's not a good situation right now under Nuno Espirito Santo, and the club has backed him, at least for now. They are in the relegation zone. They have added some recent attacking reinforcements, including former MLS Cup winner Tati Castellanos. Sources suggest that Wilson's situation reflects wider unrest in the dressing room. We'll see how this gets sorted out. Manchester City, their defensive issues have deepened. Josko Vardiol is set for surgery after fracturing his tibia. Ruben Dias and John Stones and Nathan Ake are all managing injuries as well. City have had to recall young center back Max Allen from his loan at Watford. Caleb Wiley was also recalled from his loan at Watford to Chelsea. We'll see what that means for Caleb. Barcelona, they're exploring a January return for Joao Cancelo, holding talks with Al Hilal as Hansi Flick looks for some defensive reinforcements. The club would prefer a loan move. Inter are also monitoring, but Cancelo reportedly wants to go to Barca. In Newcastle, they have condemned racist abuse and death threats directed at midfielder Joe Willock, reporting the incident to police and calling on social media platforms like Meta to cooperate fully. Sadly, it's another reminder that this fight against online abuse in football remains far from finished. I've said it many times. If the club can identify the folks who are doing this, they should be banned from the stadium. The league should back that ban league-wide. The FA should back that ban for all national team games, and they should lose their privilege to attend matches. I don't care if they have to find a fake ID. I don't care. Make them work for it. Doesn't matter to me. Ban them from these buildings. You can't ban them from the online side of it. Ban them from these buildings. The online side of it needs to get better at dealing with this abuse as well. But it's way past time to have stronger punishments for these folks. You can say what you want to a degree, but you also have to deal with the repercussions for what you say. And you can't hide behind the anonymity anymore. Find them, ban them, don't let them in the buildings. Final whistle. You got going from the sidelines to the knockout rounds. Today, it just shows how the game keeps moving. Chelsea, they've made another long-term bet. We'll see if it actually gets all the way through 5.5 years for Liam Rosenior. Manchester United, they're still looking for that next direction. AFCON tightening as the quarterfinal field comes into focus by the end of the day. Closer to home, the pathways just keep expanding. You got young Americans heading abroad. You got young Americans abroad heading to new places. You've got the domestic leagues growing. You've got new voices stepping into leadership roles like Michael Bradley. January always reshapes the season. We're only 6 days in, and this January has already reshaped things pretty strongly, and there's a whole lot more to go. We'll be tracking all the moves, all the matches, all the stories around the corner from everywhere. That's Morning Espresso for Tuesday, January 6th. Thank you for spending some time with me this morning. I will see y'all on the radio tonight on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app, and I will see y'all tomorrow in your inboxes for Morning Espresso.